Well, hey there, fellow lovers of literacy, teachers of English language arts and reading and writing and all that good stuff. It's time for another supermodel text. So this is actually going to be a two-part. I intend for this to be a two-part episode. This is part one, where I want to talk about this dystopian novel. It's a post-apocalyptic. Don't we all love our dystopian novels, even though it kind of feels like we're living it right now? I know, it's triggering. I'm sad about it too, but it's always a good time to read dystopian lit, and this is no exception. And what I think you'll like about this episode is that it's not going to be too much of a spoiler, because the excerpt, the model text that I would want to introduce students to and just use for like a quick writing activity in class, reading and writing activity, literacy activity in class, is right at the beginning of this great book, The Marrow Thieves. So quick introduction of The Marrow Thieves. I'll read the back cover of it, and you should definitely check it out. If you like, like the Hunger Games, things like that, The Giver, you're gonna love The Marrow Thieves. Just when you think you have nothing left to lose, they come for your dreams. In a world nearly destroyed by global warming, ooh, timely, the indigenous people of North America are being hunted for their bone marrow, which carries the key to recovering something the rest of the population has lost, the ability to dream. Is it laying it on thick with the metaphor there? Yeah, maybe. It's good though. And it's pretty cool because it starts out with, and this is a little bit of a foreshadowing, spoiler alert, into the second part of this video, but it has a really cool quote here from Cormac McCarthy from The Road. Have you read The Road yet? That's another good one, another good dystopian. That's going to connect with this, and I'll talk about that next video. But for this supermodel text, you could break it up. There's really two parts to it that you could really focus on. You could focus on page 1 through 4, or if you just wanted to focus on a short term of it, I would look at the dialogue that happens between pages 2 and 3. So there's 2 lessons that you could do with this. You can do the extended and analyze all 1 through 4, or just if you want to do a short tone analysis and dialogue activity, focus on pages 2 and 3. And of course, what do you do with your students when you're setting up a little model text analysis? You're going to want to number the paragraphs. And so I got them numbered right here, all the way to the bottom of page 4. There should be, if my counting's correct, 30 paragraphs essentially. And so that's what I'll use to jump around here. Now, a couple things that you want to look out for when we read together, this is what you'll set up your students to do, is of course we're going to look for lit devices, and we're going to circle clue words or details or vocab words that really give us details about the setting of the story. And you can tell them, like, it's a post-apocalyptic setting, but what are the words that clue us into that it is post-apocalyptic, dystopian kind of setting in the future? And the second major thing, besides clue words and lit devices, is that we are going to stop and, like I mentioned, look at page 2 and 3 and just analyze the shifts in tone. Starting at the top of page 1, let's read a little bit of that introduction, just as we would with our students. And I don't know if you get them copies of the book, or you would have this on an overhead projector so they could see you marking up the text. But hopefully, I want you to own the book so you can mark it up. I would probably make some photocopies of just this text for them to mark up and look at, and definitely not paste it in their writer's notebook so they can mark it up and keep it forever, because copyright stuff. But they can hand it in when they're done, after they're done marking it up, and you could grade it and then toss it. It's probably less illegal to do that. I don't know. All in the good of education. Hopefully it gets them interested in reading this book. Okay, so let's read the introduction together. Just kind of walk through how I would walk through it with students. So this is Frenchie's Coming To story. Paragraph 1. Mitch was smiling so big his back teeth shone in the soft light of the solar-powered lamp we'd scavenged from someone's shed. Check it out! He held a bag of Doritos between us. A big bag, too. Okay, so right there already. So this is where I would model with students. It's like, okay, I'm going to circle the word scavenged, because to me, that's very much telling me about the setting and the situation that our two characters are in, Mitch and someone else, probably Frenchie, guessing from the title, if we're going to TP cast it, right? They had to scavenge for something, so this is telling me that it's not the best setting. Maybe that's a good word to circle and say, yeah, this is a clue that this is a dystopian type of setting. Holy Mitch, where'd you get that? I touched the air-pressured bag to confirm it was real. My dirty fingers skittered across the shiny surface like skates. I'm gonna underline that because that is a lit device. What lit device is it? Skittered across the shiny surface like skates. Have students mark that up. It was real. My mouth filled with spit and a rotten hole in one of my molars yelled its displeasure. Ooh, another lit device. My molars yelled its displeasure. Underline that. In the last house back there, hidden on top of the cupboard, like Ma used to do when she didn't want us to getting into stuff. Mom had only been gone a few months, so talking about her still stung. My brother popped the bag to cover the hurt. And like cheese-scented fireworks, another lit device, cheese-scented fireworks, that loud release of air and processed dust cheered us up. We were in a treehouse somewhere on the outer rim of a small city that had long been closed down like a forgotten convenience store. So closed down, to me that's a clue. Like, why would a city be closed down if something wasn't up and this wasn't the post-apocalyptic world, a dystopian? And of course, like a forgotten convenience store, that's a nice little lit device there too. Underline, so circle and underline. We were a few hours out from southern metropolitan city, which used to be Toronto. Back when there were still so many cities, they each had a unique name instead of a direction. West City, North City, Metropolis, Southern Township. So already, that's just 5 paragraphs, but we already know so much about the situation, the setting, and the time period, and we can assume a lot of things are not going so well for these people, which is a great discussion to have for your students. If they're taking notes, and they should be writing notes as they read, about, okay, so we have these 2 characters. How would you describe the setting? Dismal? And is it chaotic? It was a great treehouse. Some lucky kid must have had a contractor for a father. It was easily 2 stories up from the unmown lawn, another clue there, circle that, and had a gabled roof with real shingles. We'd been there for 3 days now, skipping school, hiding out, before he'd left with the council, and we never saw him again. Dad had taught us that the best way to hide is to keep moving, but this spring had been damp. It had rained off and on for over a week, and we couldn't resist the dry comfort of the one-room treehouse with built-in benches. Besides, we reasoned, it was up high like a sniper hole, so we could see if anyone was coming for us. Like a sniper hole, so underline that. Making a comparison, another lit device. So that's where I would stop after the 6th paragraph and just have an extended discussion. I might even say, if my students are strong readers, to say, I want you to read on your own, paragraphs 1 through 6, and be able to describe the setting and the characters. That's all the direction I would give them, and then see how much they could come up with on their own, have a quick discussion before moving on to the rest of the story in this excerpt. But here's where it gets good, right after paragraph 7. Let's keep on reading. It probably started with that first pop of air against metallic plastic, no louder than a champagne cork. I imagined the school truancy officers, recruiters we called them, coming for us. Noses to the wind, sunglasses reflecting the row of houses behind which we were nestled in our wooden dream home. And sure enough, by the time we'd crunched through the first sweet, salty handfuls, they were rounding the house into the backyard. So recruiters, so now we know the antagonist of the story is these recruiters that are searching for him. So that's a good setup for the dialogue that's about to happen. And this is where you need to go get your tone word bank, which I have available for free on our Teachers Pay Teachers page. So go download it if you'd like, unless your students have a high vocabulary of tone words specifically, but I think it's really helpful to use as a reference page so they are increasing their vocabulary and they're discovering more accurate, more precise words to describe the tones. Now here's what I want you to do before students dive into this quick dialogue here. It starts at the way I have it numbered, paragraph 8 all the way through 20 essentially. And so I would break that up. I would separate this whole section if you're going to teach it all. Paragraphs 1 through 10 is, we'll call that part A. Paragraphs 11 through 20, which kind of gets into the dialogue. It's a big chunk of the dialogue that happens between Mitch and Frenchie. That'll be part B. And then of course 21 through 30, which ends on section 4, on page 4, that'll be part C. And so what I would ask students to do is, after reading paragraph 1 through 10, referencing the tone word bank, how would you describe the tone of the story? And tell me, how do you know? Like, why choose that tone? Pick some sentence or sentences or parts, anecdotes from just paragraphs 1 through 10 to help support that conclusion. And then again, with the dialogue we're about to read, how would you describe the tone of that dialogue? And why? Explain why. And then of course, same thing for paragraphs 21 through 30. But let's read the dialogue real quick. So there's a bad word. You can deal with that how you feel. If your students are mature enough, they might really enjoy saying that out loud. But I don't think it's too bad to eliminate this from being read. It says on paragraph 8, this is where the dialogue starts. What? Mitch put the bag down and turned to the window, cut into the north wall. Francis, you're gonna have to listen to me really carefully. What? I knew it was bad. He never called me Francis, no one but Mom ever did, and then only when I was in trouble. I'd been Frenchie since I could remember. Listen now. He turned away from the window to lock eyes with me. You are going to climb out the back window and onto the roof, as low down as you can get. But Mitch, I can't climb out a window. Yes, you can, and you will. You're the best damn climber there is. Then when you're on the roof, you're going to grab the pine tree behind us and climb up into it. Stay as close to the trunk as you can. You have to shimmy into the back part where the shadows are thickest. You go first. Too late, buddy. They know someone is up here. Just not how many someones. I felt my throat tighten to a pinhole. This is how voices are squeezed into hysterical screeching. Mitch, no! He turned again, eyes burning with purpose, bordering on anger. Now, move it, Francis. So, referencing your tone word bank, how would you describe the tone of this discussion here? What textual evidence would you reference to support your choice? It continues on along that, and there's some really good dialogues, and I'll let you finish page 4 by itself. I think this was long enough to get you started and give you some ideas, but that is how I would set it up and read it with students in class. It's just another great supermodel text just to have on hand to do a quick and powerful writing lesson, as well as close reading analysis. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the story. There are actually a lot of good action-packed parts in it. The author is really good at using lit devices and being very detailed in their descriptions. And so it was one of the more enjoyable young adult novels that I've read recently. But in my next video, I'm gonna do a compare and contrast from this excerpt to an excerpt from Cormac McCarthy's The Road. And we'll talk all about that, and I'll discuss how I used that in class too, and what specific excerpts to use, or at least I would recommend to use to help students increase their creative use of punctuation as well as tone analysis. So, hope you enjoyed, and until next time, cheers, take care of yourself, take care of your students, and take care of each other.